Today on Locked On Red Wings, the penalty kill is killing nothing but this team's hopes.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News, while I am the color commentator for Oakland University, ACHA D1 men's hockey. And we got two games to recap for you guys. Unfortunately, like pretty much every weekend, we have two games to cover for you. The Red Wings lost both of those hockey games. I don't know if they've done a weekend where they've won at least one of those weekend games all season yet. Obviously losing 5-4 on Friday to the New Jersey Devils, and then Sunday in overtime 5-4 to the Vancouver Canucks. So we'll talk about both of those things in today's episode. Hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving and an even better Black Friday. We got some of that holiday shopping done if you did. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account to use that code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Scotty, how was your Thanksgiving, man? I hope you had a good time. I know you were with family.
Yeah, it was good, man. Went up north with my dad's side of the family, and it was, we had a lot of fun on the lake and whatnot. Even though it was obviously very cold, still had a good time. How about you?
Pretty good. I had two family Thanksgivings. They both went really swell. They were great. Swell.
Good.
Oh, they both went really well. Let's say well.
You don't like the word swell?
Who says swell anymore? What are we doing?
So I say swell because no one says swell.
Oh, hipster Scotty over here.
That is an accurate way to describe it, I would say, yeah.
All right.
What's not going swell? Take it away.
Oh, this penalty kill. I thought you were going to finish it. I didn't know you were setting me up.
Oh, I thought it was like a handoff type of thing, like we were tagging.
Snaps, take it away. It was a rough weekend if you're a Red Wings fan. A lot of scoring. That was great to see. 8 goals combined, 4 in those two games, but the penalty kill just keeps letting this team down. And, I think for segment 1 here, it makes the most sense to kind of do a combined, we do first thought, and we do difference maker in segment 1. And I think it's just best to combine both of those into one for the entire weekend. And honestly, Scotty, I'm at a point now. I mean, we were at this point after the California trip, but after this weekend, especially with the Darren Dreger report that came out prior to the weekend, I mean, my first thought is heads have got to roll. Like, it might not be Newsy. It might be Bob Bugner. That's fine. Anybody, whoever's in charge of this penalty kill, which I believe is Bob Bugner, they're on pace for a historically bad penalty kill. And it's getting to a point where it's inexcusable. And they've had some really bad luck in there too. And Sean Shapiro had a really nice article breaking down the Red Wings penalty kill. It's not all their structure is fine. The problem lies in the fact that after the initial shot is taken, they're not the first one getting to the puck off the rebound. They're not clearing the net front. In fact, a lot of the opportunities, they're abandoning the net front guy in order to try and cheat and take away opportunities from the guys who are a little bit more towards the half walls. So this penalty kill, the structure is working, but they're not moving bodies whatsoever. And they're getting some bad luck, and they're on pace for a historically bad penalty kill. And at some point, you got to stop saying, and I said it 2 weeks ago, you got to stop saying, it'll find its level. And I'm sure at some point, to a certain extent, it will find its level. But in the meantime, you're pissing away the season, and these are 2 games that you should have won. 4 goals, in both of these games. These are both games you should have won that you lost because you allowed 3 penalty kills, 3 power play goals against the Devils, and 2 against the Vancouver Canucks. Both of those coming at the start of the second period on a 5-on-3, then becoming a 5-on-4. It is becoming inexcusably poor how badly they're playing on the penalty kill, and somebody's head has to roll. I don't know if I don't necessarily have faith that that's what's going to happen, but me sitting here as a fan, at some point something has to change, and it's got to start somewhere, be it with an assistant coach or whatever. This is just inexcusable how this penalty kill has been operating.
Yeah, I think the last point you made there is the most frustrating point, and kind of the biggest point for me personally is that, like, you look at these last two games, the offense was alive, and that's not even just in terms of, okay, the puck was finding the back of the net. We have seen this team put up decent goal total numbers with, like 12 shots and with like not good possession and whatnot. Like this was legitimately a good offensive showing, especially against Vancouver, man. Like they were legitimately possessing the puck that first period, especially. I felt like they had the puck in the offensive zone for a large part of that period, but really throughout the whole game, like the offense was there, and all the things that we've been begging for this offense to do and for this team to do, to possess the puck, not have a ton of giveaways, to get a lot of shots on net, to actually be able to like cycle and keep the puck in the offensive zone for more than a rush at a time, actually happened, and it looked like a real offense, and for again a couple of games, and in both of these, I think you could argue, and the fact that this special teams and this penalty kill, obviously, specifically, I mean, dare I say single-handedly, I don't know if I want to be that dramatic necessarily, because it wasn't all, sunshine and rainbows necessarily outside of it, but it's certainly the biggest factor, like pretty objectively. And it's very, very frustrating to finally get the offense that we have been wanting to see since opening night, and have it just like nobody cares and it doesn't matter. And I don't blame people. Like, I don't really care. Like, great, good job. But like, it's not turning anything around, because they're giving up a goal literally every power play. Even, I mean, against Vancouver, even the one that they killed, they still gave up a shot off the post. Like, if that went bar in instead of bar out, you're talking about an 0 for 3 day on the kill, man. Like, it's just, that is very, very frustrating.
They just look so panicky on the penalty kill, it feels like half the time. Like they're afraid. And Sean Shapiro speculated this in his article too. Again, shout out Sean Shapiro on social media, on X, on Blue Sky. He's on both. Follow him on both.
I get his email. Send him to his newsletter, man. I get his emails every morning.
Yeah, he great stuff from him on Twitter. He covers the Dallas Stars as well. He mentioned that, like, you wonder if the fear, because they know that the penalty kill is so poor, if you wonder if that trickles into how they play 5-on-5 hockey, with how passive they can be at times because they're afraid of drawing penalties. And he mentions, like, Michael Rasmussen, like, on the power play is a beast, has been a beast since taking over in that role, especially as Kane's absence has led to some shakeups in the power play units. He's been fantastic, but 5-on-5, you don't necessarily see that. So, like, and that's just maybe speculation, right? Like, you don't know that for sure, but it is an interesting point to bring up as just, like, anecdotal. Like, this could be affecting them in other capacities. I don't know how much of that it carries the truth, but what is true is that in both of these games, if you want a secondary difference maker, because obviously that was the first thought that leads into a clear difference maker for both these games, is the horrible penalty kill, is the 5-on-5 isn't great either, and that's another huge issue. Like, yes, they scored 8 goals in this game, but you got dominated by both the Canucks and the Devils at 5-on-5 again. And by again, I mean not that this happened last time these two teams played each other. For the Vancouver Canucks, it would have been last season, but again this season, in a game against any team, they got dominated again. They came out strong at 5-on-5 in both first periods against both teams. In fact, had the better edge in expected goals for percentage against the Devils at 51 and 78% against the Vancouver Canucks at 5-on-5 in the first period. And then periods 2 and 3, the tables completely turned. And the Vancouver Canucks and the New Jersey Devils just were hammering you with shots and shot attempts. And that's another part of the problem. It's like, I mean, this is nothing new, and we've said this 1,000 times. It's been said to death, but the only thing this team does well is the power play. And you used to be able to say goaltending too, but as we'll talk about, well, Talbot allowed 10 goals. I'm sorry, that's not true. Husso came in and covered the last half of that game, but he allowed, 8 goals in the 1.5 games he played. Lyon's hurt. Now Talbot is hurt too, because then Husso had to come in relief. Well, now one of the 2 good things you did well is not doing well. And is hurt.
Yeah.
And
we talked about the sustainability of that. Like, and that's where we had that conversation a few weeks ago where it was like, well, do you try and space out like Talbot starts to make sure that he can make it through 82, or do you just completely run this into the ground and take whatever you can get out of it because of his age and hope that that he can keep his head above water, after he maybe starts showing cracks in the armor. I don't really know. It's always something, man. Like that's just how I feel at this point. Like it's always something. Every game you watch, it's like, oh look, they finally did this, and then something else, and then oh look, like this got better, and then something else that they did good falls apart, and then like there was that stretch last week where like the power play wasn't very good for a solid 4 or 5 game stretch, and it's been the only reason you've been winning for a while, and like it's just. It is literally just always something. And the only constant is that the penalty kill has never been something.
Yeah. It's been a very frustrating season thus far if you're a Detroit Red Wings fan because things are not working out. And, I'm starting to come to terms with the fact that they might not make a change. I know Darren Dreger said that this homestand was crucial to any decisions they might make in the head coaching capacity. And the Red Wings went 1-1-1 in the homestand. I don't. What do you do? I'm coming to terms with the fact that they might not do anything. They might just be like, this is last year Lalonde's contract. And if they ride it out or fire him, they're going to go with an interim head coach regardless, and then just hope they pick up their head coach in the offseason. And if that's the case, then like this season, no matter what you do with Lalonde is kind of a wash. And that would suck. But that is probably the reality we're looking at. Anyways, let's go to segment 2 and we'll talk about the games individually. Locked On Red Wings.
What was that?
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. If you had placed moneyline money on the University of Michigan Wolverines to beat the Ohio State Buckeyes this Saturday, you would have made a lot of money. You never know what's going to happen in sports, so sometimes just take a swing for the fences. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. And you can toggle this nice feature called the all-in pricing toggle to show the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. And the Game Time ticket coverage will make sure that your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, let's dive now into the Devils game as a whole or as an individual. And, of course, we've already talked about three penalty power play goals against is absolutely inexcusable. We've already mentioned that. We don't want to talk more about that. I mean, we could. We could probably do 30 minutes about that, just venting our frustration. But what else stood out to you in this hockey game as notable, either good or bad?
I think that kind of similar to what I had said earlier, and what you had also alluded to earlier, just the fact that the offense has really, I don't even know if I want to use the word turned a corner. Like, I'm not really sure I'm ready to be like, oh yeah, like this is good. And we're just going to score 4 to 5 every night now. And I'm not worried about the offense anymore. still am, but I think that you're at least seeing some signs of life from people. I mean, we'll talk about Berger a little bit when we talk about the Vancouver game. I think Lucas Raymond is a great place to start because he continues to produce offensively night in and night out. And I think that there's a very real chance that this dude is, eclipsing point a game when we're talking in April about a season recap.
I mean, he's already eclipsing a point per game after the weekend concluded. He had 2 assists against Vancouver. Yeah. So if that's with the goal against New Jersey, that's 3 points in 2 games. That's a point above a point per game. Obviously, on the game against New Jersey, he scored that pseudo wraparound goal. Like, he didn't make it all the way around. It kind of took a favorable bounce, but it was a goal nonetheless. It was a 5-game goal streak, which matched his career high in goal streaks, which was fantastic. I mean, what else can we say about Lucas Raymond that we haven't said 1,000 times already? He's a true difference maker on this hockey team. He and Dylan Larkin tend to be the players who show up the most out of anyone else on this hockey team. And you need him to if you're going to win hockey games. You need that top of the lineup to really produce most of the points. You need the depth too. And, to be fair, this was a game in which we saw plenty of depth scoring. In fact, you saw 2 Red Wing firsts. You had Tyler Mott with a beautiful redirection from Ben Sherratt. That's second line, Tyler Mott, by the way. So you also had Justin Holl get a favorable bounce out front, which made it 5-4 quickly after the New Jersey Devils made it 5-3. But, I mean, both of those are just like small moments. And again, an otherwise really depressing game. I mean, the Red Wings had a 2-0 and a 3-2 lead in this hockey game against the Devils. And because of their penalty kill, they were unable to hold on to it. And it's just crazy how quickly the whole thing will unfold. And this was a game, too, where, Moritz Seider played, 26 minutes, which was absolutely insane ask out of him, which is, that is true number 1 defenseman minutes. And that's what I was asking out of him. But the deployments that he's receiving are quickly reverting back to what we saw last year. Remember at the start of the season, we were seeing him get some offensive zone looks, and he looked really good. But quickly these 2 games, that pair has gone back to getting just defensive zone deployments, and it's hurting. And you could see it in the game against the New Jersey Devils. Moritz Seider's pair got caved in. It was not. That 5-on-5 again was just not pretty. It's cool you got a couple of firsts. Raymond was good again, but it's really hard to talk about anything else besides just the piss poor penalty kill and the 5-on-5 play, but all around.
Yeah, man. And I think that we don't have to talk about the rest of the blue line sans the top pair anymore. I think we've kind of beat that horse to death and back to life and then to death again. I just... It's still mind-boggling to me. Okay, I've said that about 1 million times. That has not changed. It is still wild to me. I know they tried some Justin Holl this weekend. I am just begging for some defensive depth on the blue line. If we're talking about positives, though, I don't think you can talk about this 2-game stretch this weekend as a whole without talking about Tarasenko. Had a little bit of a scoring outburst. My goodness, we've been waiting. We were talking, a week and a half ago about being worried that this dude was going to be a bottom 6 forward for his time with the Wings, and this was going to be a really rough contract. And while this 2-game stretch does not just completely absolve all of those concerns, it certainly reminds you that this dude still has a shot and hopefully can still keep it going and hopefully can be a legitimate scoring option on this team, because if the offense looks like it has over the last week ish if the offense looks like it did over the last 2 days and you can just get any semblance of a penalty kill or a bottom 4 on your blue line, you're talking about a team that could turn it around, but those are huge ifs. And one of those ifs is Tarasenko continuing to produce offensively too.
Yeah, he had 2 goals, 1 assist for 3 points, just like Lucas Raymond in this 2-game stretch, of course, I mean 3 points because Raymond's came a goal and 2 assists. But Tarasenko, like it looked like a little bit he was finding his shot, and we'll talk about it against Vancouver. You can say the same about like Berggren as well, and he scored a goal against Vancouver, and it seems like he's turning it around. But Vladimir Tarasenko on the power play, which actually was really funny. I remember Mick calling it out. Vladimir Tarasenko had an opportunity in the slot to shoot it. He elected to pass, and Mick said something along the lines of, like, you got to shoot that there, and the puck comes back to him. He's like, he's going to shoot it now, and he shot it, and he scored immediately. So it's like, it kind of reminds me of last year when Mick goes, shoot it, Lucas, and Lucas shoots and scores in overtime. I mean, hey, he played professional hockey. He gets it. You know, player's not going to make the same mistake twice, and Vladimir Tarasenko certainly didn't on the power play. And then against Vancouver, that was an incredible play too by Marco Kasper in the in the neutral zone.
That was poetry. Like that, legitimately, that was. If an alien came down to Earth and was like, teach me about the beautiful game of hockey, that is the play I would show them. Legitimately, that was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and that's 2 games in a row Marco Kasper has gotten assists. In fact, that's 3 assists for him.
Dude, he was everywhere against New Jersey, man. He was great passing, had 3 or 4 shots on net, was laying the body out, ended with quite a few hits in the box score as well. I mean, he was kind of all over the place in that game. He's been really solid. You just need to get a little bit more point production out of him, and you're talking about a legitimate 2C.
Hey, 3 assists this weekend. He was
right. Yeah, if he maintains that, then obviously you're golden.
I mean, that's what this team's going to. One of the many ways this team is going to need to succeed is the depth scoring, and Berggren and Marco Kasper finding their strides.
Right.
At
I do
the
want to
NHL
talk
levels
Berger too.
Is a huge thing. We'll talk about that because we're kind of bleeding into the Vancouver conversation now. There's not much else to say about the New Jersey conversation. They scored a lot of goals and they gave up a lot of goals. That was how it went. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Lockdown Red Wings. Lockdown Red Wings is sponsored by Prize Picks. They are the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And Prize Pick now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. Sign up today to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. If you think that Connor McDavid will get more than 0.5 goals next week, or maybe Austin Matthews for more than 6 points, cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this hockey season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly and play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Segment 3, Lockdown Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty, finally the Vancouver Canucks game. It sounds like we were kind of leading into talking about that line of Joe Veleno, Marco Kasper, and Jonathan Berggren. Why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, I was just really impressed with Berger against Vancouver. He walks out of that with 2 points. Yeah, obviously the goal, and then had an assist on that beautiful play we were talking about with Marco Kasper as well. So, he has been, I think he only had, what does this say? 10 and a half minutes of ice time. Like it wasn't like he was out there getting top 6 minutes or anything, but I think he has been a really solid depth producer this year, and especially lately. Got off to a little bit of a slow start in terms of point production, and we mentioned that on the show, but we were I mean, me specifically at least, we're pretty hard on him over the summer, and I think going into this year, my expectations of him were not very high. Like I didn't anticipate him to look much better defensively, which I think he has had. There's a lot more effort, just period, defensively, which I think has gone a long way. And now over the last 2 or 3 weeks, you're starting to see the point production come back around as well. The goal scoring over the last 6 or 7 games And then again in this one, getting an assist too. So I just, as you mentioned in segment 2, him being a solid depth scoring option is going to be so important to the success of this team. If there is any success going forward, they're going to need him to fill that depth scoring void that was left by all the names that walked over the offseason. And I was really, really impressed with him really all weekend, but obviously in Vancouver, he was getting results. So specifically in that game.
Yeah, I mean, again, you brought it up. Sample size matters. They didn't play
Sure.
a lot relative to their teammates because they were using a bottom 6 role. But Joe Veleno, Jonathan Berggren, and Marco Kasper did lead the team in shot attempt share at 5-on-5. It was 70% for Joe Veleno, 64 for Jonathan Berggren, and 55 for Marco Kasper. Like that line, or those 3 players, because I know there were some line shakeups against Vancouver, and they didn't end up playing the entire game on a line with each other. But that was a line, and those were individuals that were contributing positively to this team's production when they were on the ice. Again, sample size matters. As a line, they spent 3 minutes and 48 seconds of 5-on-5 ice time to get with each other, and they had a 100% expected goals for percentage. They had expected goals against of 0 because they didn't face a single shot against in their 3 minutes of 48 seconds of ice time. Not even a shot, but shot attempt against in that 3 minutes and 48 seconds. Again, very small sample size. Lines got shaken up. Kasper got put with DeBrincat and Tarasenko. Veleno got put with Comfer and Mont. I don't even know where Berggren went, but like these are the numbers were a lot less favorable after that shakeup for those players, but they've kind of found a little bit of a rhythm playing together. Like we knew Marco Kasper and Berggren were going to play well together. They played really well together last year in the AHL. It was just a matter of like adjustment, right? Adjustment period. I didn't know Joe Veleno would have that much chemistry. And I think the other day I kind of excluded Joe Veleno as like a young guy, which is funny because I think he's younger than Jonathan Berggren, technically. They're from the same draft class. Joe Veleno was a first-round pick, and Berggren, I think, was a second-round pick.
Yeah.
So they're literally the same age. But like Joe Veleno on the wing, they've been finding some good chemistry. It's been a small bright spot for the Detroit Red Wings that Kasper and Berggren are getting really comfortable at the NHL level. Berggren's finding his shot. Kasper's just doing everything. Again, in a more limited role, but I'd love to see that role slowly increase as he gets even more comfortable, and he's looking like he's getting more comfortable, so it's been really nice.
Absolutely. I agree.
Outside of that, against Vancouver, because we've kind of married the Tarasenko talk, we've married the Raymond talk because they got points in both. DeBrincat scored his 10th, I believe it was, of the season against the Vancouver Canucks. So he kind of continues to be a hot and cold player. He scored in bunches here, going back to, Wednesday. And DeBrincat's DeBrincat. I don't have much to add about how he plays his game. He's just going to be there feasting on those pucks coming back door.
Yeah, no, that was a beauty too. That was a really tough angle for him to get his stick at and bury that. So good. Again, similar conversation to Tarasenko. Like they're gonna need all the help they can get offensively, and they're gonna need him to continue his goal scoring production that we've seen so far in the first couple of months of the season.
So I think that brings us to Rasmussen got a goal too. That was a nice goal. Fighting for that in that front. I think that brings us to the goaltending, which is suddenly looking very thin. Both your number one.
How that works. It's almost like that was painfully obvious.
But Talbot injured against Vancouver. Lyon injured prior to the game against New Jersey. So Husso comes in to relieve Talbot against Vancouver and isn't great. And, part of that, it's really tough to come in as a goaltender just ice cold, right? Weirdly, Talbot pulls himself right after the Red Wings score a goal. It was weird timing. But Husso didn't, again, give us much encouragement. Lyon, we know already, will not travel with the team on the road trip because that was confirmed beforehand. We're still waiting to find out how bad Talbot's injury is. You need a backup. You got 2 goalies in the AHL farm system. There is the what is going to happen pick, and there is the please God this guy pick. And Scotty, why don't you explain to the people what those 2 picks are?
Yeah, man. Look, if Kosa is called up, we will throw a party on here and celebrate But as we've talked about a lot, I think I don't want to speak for you, but I know we've covered this base a lot. I don't see them calling up Kosa in like a temporary role. That just I feel like when they call up Kosa, it's going to be because they have playing time carved out for him, consistent playing time carved out for him. Not okay, here's a start here, and then maybe we'll send you right back down, and then all of that, and then there's the logistics of the call up and send down, and the finances behind that, et cetera, et cetera. I would be surprised if it was Sebastian Kosa, but I know that the entire fan base, myself included, would obviously find that much more exciting than Campbell, who is what it's going to be.
I see, and here's the thing. Campbell has the NHL experience, right? Like a lot of NHL experience. And so he like screams like this is the obvious choice. But the one reason I'll push back on that is because he still has yet to play a single game this season. He has not played a single game at the AHL level. He started the year obviously in the player assistance program. I think it would be kind of brash to just be like, all right, you got to come back up to the NHL and play. Like obviously he'd back up Husso, and Husso is now temporarily, for better and for worse, going to be your team's one, right, if Talbot is not okay.
Right, that's the biggest thing here. Is like what I said is just completely thrown out the window if Talbot's out for 3 months. Like if right, both of those guys are out for legitimate amount of time, then it might be Kosa, because again he would then get legitimate playing time at the NHL level. But if it's a spot start here and then then we'll like send him back down, then it's not going to be. It really all depends on how long Talbot and Lyon are out for.
Campbell last year, he only played 5 games at the NHL level. He had an .873 save percentage.
Yeah,
he played 33 games with the Bakersfield Condors. He had a .918 save percentage. He regrouped in the AHL, which is why I think the Red Wings won. Plus, he's a Port Huron native. Gate took a flyer on him. And we were always saying he was going to be the AHL guy, right? Like he was going to be sharing the crease with Sebastian Kosa, the veteran presence, before all of this unfolded. But again, with him like not even having played a game yet, I think it's a lot to ask him to come up to the NHL and back up Husso, where I hate to be rude, but he'll probably have to come in a couple games and expect him to be the guy when you have a goaltender in Sebastian Kosa, who a 925 save percentage in 14 games so far, Scotty. Like, he's been unreal. Like, even if it's just for a spot start here or there, like, why not give him his NHL debut? Like, I think short-term or long-term, there's not much harm in calling him up and just, even if he's just sitting there as a backup, just having him there, because he at this point, because Jack Campbell has yet to even play a game this season, is more NHL ready than Jack Campbell is.
Maybe. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I don't think the team is going to call him up for a day and then send him back down.
It depends on Talbot. I mean, it all depends on Talbot. Like, even if he's
agree.
Even if he's out for a week, can you call up Jack Campbell who hasn't played a game yet? Like, I don't know
if he's out for a week. Then if he's out for a week, then Husso has to play 3 games and none of them are back to back. So yes, you would just call up Campbell and have him back up and never give him a start.
But that's assuming that you don't have to pull Husso at any given point.
If you have to pull Husso at any given point, then they don't care. You're getting crushed anyway, and it doesn't matter.
That's fair. I don't know. If Campbell was like in midseason form, I'd be like, oh yeah. Campbell,
I get what
obviously.
You're saying. Again, I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying. I'm just all I'm saying is that I think they will be hesitant to do so unless Talbot is out for a long period of time, and then I think it's honestly, then I would say that Kosa is the likely candidate.
Well, we'll find out soon enough, because Lyon's gone for at least the road trip. And Talbot could be, we don't know what Talbot's situation is. We didn't get an update. So we'll find out. Could be a nothing burger.
I'm sure we'll know tomorrow.
Could be the future is here. Who knows? Scotty, any final thoughts?
We ball.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.